So you think you know weird animals. You've probably seen the axolotl. You've scrolled past the blobfish memes. You've watched enough nature documentaries to recognize a pangolin at 50 paces. But here's the thing about nature. It doesn't care about your Instagram feed. While we're busy making the same dozen creatures into internet celebrities, evolution has been conducting experiments so bizarre, so brilliantly strange, that most of them have escaped our collective awareness entirely. Today, we're correcting that oversight. 6 creatures that look like they were designed by a committee of surrealist artists on a deadline. 6 animals so unexpected that when I first encountered them in the scientific literature, I had to double-check I wasn't reading fantasy fiction. Because the truth is stranger than myth. Let's start underground. The star-nosed mole. In the waterlogged marshes of eastern North America, where something is moving through the darkness, something that shouldn't exist. Meet Condylura cristata, the star-nosed mole. And before you say moles aren't that weird, let me show you its face. 22 fleshy tentacles radiate from its snout, like some kind of Lovecraftian nightmare crossed with a sea anemone. It looks like evolution gave up halfway through and just started gluing body parts together at random. When this animal was first described to European scientists, many assumed the specimens had been damaged or deformed. But here's where we move from horror to revelation. That star, it's not decorative, it's not vestigial, it's arguably the most sophisticated tactile organ in the entire animal kingdom. Each of those 22 appendages is packed with over 25,000 specialized receptors called Eimer's organs, touch sensors so sensitive they can detect prey by feeling the microscopic vibrations of an earthworm's movement through saturated soil. The star-nosed mole can identify, capture, and consume prey in an average of 227 milliseconds. That's faster than you can blink. It is, by scientific consensus, the world's fastest-eating mammal. But why? Why evolve such an elaborate system? Because this mole lives in an environment where sight is worthless. The eastern marshlands where it hunts are pitch black, underwater environments where visual predators can't follow. So the star-nosed mole didn't just adapt to darkness, it transcended it entirely. It rebuilt its entire sensory world around touch, creating a 3-dimensional tactile map of its surroundings that's more detailed than what most animals achieve with vision. That star isn't weird, it's genius. The Sunda Colugo. Now let's travel to Southeast Asia, to the dense rainforests that stretch across the mainland and islands. Here something is moving through the canopy. Not flying, exactly, not falling either, something in between. The Sunda Colugo, Galapotris variegatus, is commonly called a flying lemur, which is wrong on both counts. It doesn't fly. It's not a lemur. What it is the most accomplished glider in the mammalian world. And it achieves this through one of evolution's most audacious modifications. A membrane, called a patagium, stretches from the colugo's neck all the way to its fingertips, down to its tail, even between its toes. When it leaps from a tree, this membrane unfurls like a living parachute, creating what is essentially a full-body wing. Colugos have been recorded gliding over 100 meters between trees, while losing only 10 meters of altitude. That's an almost 10-to-1 glide ratio, better than most human-made hang gliders. So why evolve such an extreme adaptation? Why commit your entire body to a single function? Because in fragmented rainforest ecosystems, the ground is death. Leopards, pythons, and countless other predators patrol the forest floor. But the canopy is a 3-dimensional highway. If you can figure out how to navigate it without climbing down and back up every single tree. The Colugo's solution was radical. Eliminate climbing almost entirely. Glide everywhere. Turn the forest into a parkour course where the ground barely exists. And those specialized lower incisors, they're comb-like, designed for grooming its precious membrane and scraping tree sap. Because when your entire survival strategy depends on a thin layer of skin, maintenance becomes everything. The Colugo didn't just adapt to the trees, it redefined what it means to live there. Quick question. If I told you there's an antelope that basically said screw it, I'm going to be a giraffe, would you want to see that? Because that's exactly what we're about to cover. But here's the thing, YouTube's algorithm has no idea whether you're actually enjoying this unless you tell it. So if you're finding these creatures as fascinating as I do, hit that subscribe button. Think of it as conservation work. You're helping weird animals get the attention they deserve. Plus, we've got 4 more impossibilities to go. The Geranyuk. The East African drylands are brutal. Temperatures soar above 40 degrees Celsius. Water is scarce. Most herbivores cluster around the few reliable food sources at ground level, competing for every scrap of vegetation. The Gerenuke, Litocranius wolleri, looked at this situation and decided to opt out entirely. This antelope has an absurdly elongated neck. When it stands on its hind legs to browse, which it does constantly, it looks like someone stretched a gazelle on a medieval rack and then forgot to stop. Early European naturalists called it the giraffe gazelle, which isn't even taxonomically coherent. It perfectly captures the visual absurdity. But here's the revelation: that neck isn't a deformity. It's a competitive advantage of staggering elegance. While other herbivores fight over the same low shrubs, the Gerenuke casually reaches up to browse on acacia leaves 2 meters above the ground, a resource most of its competitors can't access. Even better, those acacia leaves are succulent, packed with moisture. The Gerenuke extracts virtually all the water it needs from its diet. It rarely, if ever, needs to drink. In an environment where water sources are magnets for predators and disease, the ability to simply ignore hydration is a superpower. The Gerenuke transformed a hostile environment into a private buffet by doing something no other antelope thought to do: reach higher. Evolution doesn't care about looking proportional, it cares about solving problems. And the Gerenuke solved East Africa. The maned wolf. South America's Cerrado savannas are a study in contradiction. They're grasslands, but not open plains. The grass grows tall, sometimes over a meter high, creating a landscape that's simultaneously exposed and obscured. Enter Crucicyon brachyurus, the maned wolf. And if you're thinking that's just a red fox with long legs, you're about to learn why common names are evolutionary lies. The maned wolf isn't a wolf. It isn't a fox. It's the last surviving member of its own lineage. Crucicyon, the golden dog, and those impossibly long legs are the key to everything. When you stand next to a maned wolf, the proportions are almost comical. The legs account for nearly half its total height. It looks like someone built a canid from mismatched parts. A fox's face on a deer's legs with a domestic dog's torso stitched between them. But walk into the Cerrado with this animal, and the genius becomes apparent. Those legs aren't for speed. Maned wolves are actually relatively slow runners. They're for visibility. The tall grass that would blind a normal fox is no obstacle when your eyes are mounted on stilts. The maned wolf hunts by moving slowly through the vegetation, using its elevated vantage point to spot rodents, birds, and reptiles that other predators can't see. And here's where it gets even stranger. The maned wolf is primarily a frugivore. Up to half its diet is a tomato-like fruit called lobera, fruit of the wolf. This wolf is as much farmer as predator, and those long legs help it reach fruit in tall bushes that ground-dwelling competitors can't access. Oh, and its urine smells distinctly like marijuana. The chemical responsible, pyrazine, functions as a territorial marker across the vast open landscape. The maned wolf essentially hotboxes the Cerrado to mark its territory. This isn't a wolf on stilts. This is evolution solving a problem we didn't even know existed. The Satanic leaf-tailed gecko, Madagascar, is evolution's laboratory, isolated for 88 million years. Here, creatures have developed solutions to problems that don't even exist on the mainland. And few demonstrate this more perfectly than Uroplatus fantasticus, the Satanic leaf-tailed gecko. When this gecko sits motionless on a branch, it vanishes, not camouflages, vanishes. The flattened, leaf-shaped tail, the mottled coloration that perfectly mimics dead foliage, the tiny horn-like projections above its eyes, eyelashes that break up its silhouette. Even its body posture mimics the curl and droop of decomposing leaves. This isn't just camouflage. This is mimicry so perfect it approaches art. But why evolve such an elaborate disguise? Madagascar's forests are predator-dense environments. The canopy is patrolled by birds with exceptional vision. The tree trunks are highways for snakes that hunt by sight and scent. For a small gecko, being visible means being dinner. So the Satanic leaf-tailed gecko made a radical choice. It decided to stop being an animal. When threatened, it doesn't run. It flattens its body against the bark, opens its mouth to reveal a bright red interior, startling predators, and then freezes, completely, motionlessly. It becomes part of the tree. And here's the most fascinating part. This strategy works because it's so extreme. Predators are wired to detect movement, heat, the shape of prey animals. The gecko circumvents all of it by committing so fully to its disguise that predators' brains simply don't register it as food. It's hidden in plain sight, not by blending in, but by becoming something else entirely. The Satanic leaf-tailed gecko didn't adapt to its environment. It became its environment. Alright, We're now past the halfway point, and if you're still here, you're clearly the kind of person who appreciates nature's weirder experiments. So here's the deal. Smash that like button if any of these animals has genuinely surprised you. The algorithm likes it when you do that, and frankly, so do I. It tells me you want more deep dives into the biological absurdities the wild keeps hidden. One more creature to go. And they're the strangest yet. The Atretosana eizelti. The Amazon basin, warm, turbid, fast-flowing rivers, where visibility is measured in centimeters. In this world, something lives that challenges our basic assumptions about what vertebrates need to survive. Atretosana eizelti. The locals call it many things, most of which I can't say on this platform. Scientists went with Atretosana, which is considerably more dignified but far less memorable. This creature is an amphibian, a caecilian, specifically, that looks like exactly what you think it looks like. But the truly bizarre feature isn't its unfortunate profile. It's what's missing. This animal has no lungs. None. Atretosana is the largest lungless tetrapod on Earth. It absorbs all oxygen directly through its skin, which is why it's so broad and flat, maximizing surface area for gas exchange. It's a living demonstration of evolutionary minimalism. Lungs provide buoyancy, but in fast-moving oxygen-rich water, buoyancy is a liability. You don't want to float, you want to stay anchored to the bottom, where the current can't sweep you away. So Atretosana eliminated its lungs entirely. It trades the complexity of a respiratory system for a simpler, more efficient solution. Just absorb oxygen through your skin. In doing so, it created one of nature's most elegant paradoxes, a vertebrate that breathes like a worm. Even its skull structure is weird, broad, flat, with an expanded gape suggesting it hunts larger prey than most lungless amphibians. Everything about this creature is a reminder that evolution isn't a ladder toward complexity. Sometimes the smartest move is subtraction. The Amazon basin hasn't been fully explored. We're still finding new species. But Atretosana was right there, hidden in plain sight, breathing without breathing. 6 animals. 6 evolutionary experiments so successful they seem impossible. The star-nosed mole that sees with touch, the colugo that turned its body into a wing, the gerenuk that stretched toward salvation, the maned wolf that became a stilt-walking frugivore, the gecko that stopped being an animal altogether, the lungless amphibian that breathes through its skin. And here's what strikes me most. These aren't flukes, they're not mistakes or aberrations. Each of these creatures is better at surviving in its environment than anything we could design. They're proof that nature's creativity operates on a scale we're barely beginning to comprehend. We call them weird, because they violate our expectations. But our expectations are built on a tiny sample size, the handful of species we've bothered to notice. The real world, the actual wild, is full of solutions we haven't imagined yet. Creatures we didn't know existed. Strategies that seem impossible until you see them working. And that's why channels like this exist. Not to catalog the familiar, but to excavate the hidden. To remind you that the wild still holds mysteries. That the truth, the real, observable, scientifically documented truth, is stranger than any myth we could invent. If this video changed how you think about evolution, about adaptation, about what's possible in the natural world, share it. Send it to someone who thinks they've seen it all, because they haven't. None of us have. Subscribe if you want more revelations. More creatures that shouldn't exist but do. More proof that nature is the greatest storyteller that ever lived. I'm not here to show you what you already know. I'm here to show you what you didn't know you were missing. The wild still has secrets, and we're just getting started.